We're going live then. Let's just go ahead and start getting after it. You might notice I broke out.
I saw that, yeah.
In honor of all of this, I broke out the throwback now New Balance Allison Keeper kit that I own. So
it's fitting. It's so fitting, and it fits.
And it fits. It fits well. I think it's because, well, no, this one might have been a knockoff as well.
I think that was a DH Gate.
Yeah,
purchase,
this might be. It might have been my first knockoff that I purchased, actually. Come to think of it. Old throat is still not quite at 100%, so I got to keep this water close by.
I was thinking like, oh, you're having some 8:45 p.m. coffee.
If I was drinking coffee straight out of like a 24-ounce plastic stadium cup, that would be its own brand of concern.
Yeah, that would be its own episode.
Yep. All right, everyone. This is just a casual, week after. It's only been a week, right? Since how did we play so many matches? Just a casual sort of spend a short amount of time since our last episode, but we have about 1 billion things to discuss, and we're going to try very hard to not talk for 3 to 4 hours on this podcast. Wow, this is You'll Never Talk Alone. I'm your friend Joseph Craven, joined by Alex Level. Alex, what's going on?
I mean, the weirdest thing, there's been so much that's happened, but the weirdest thing is like last week we had 4 games left in the season. This week there's 1 game left. Like, how did that happen? How is that healthy? I know we have injuries, but how is everyone still walking at this point?
Well, and forget everyone still walking at this point. Everyone's playing the best best football they've played all season right now for some reason. It's just unbelievable. We just got done talking in the past episode about, I asked you the kind of off-the-cuff question of who you thought might be underachieving a bit this year.
That.
And the people we talked about were Bobby, who suddenly is great. I mentioned that, it had not been a great year for Allison. Yeah. Then he scores the moment of his career. So, basically, what in the world do we even know? Or maybe we were the motivation they needed to put together these performances. They were definitely listening. Oh, man. Okay, so since we last recorded, we both kind of predicted a dull United match that ended up being anything but. A great victory for us, but I think a third-party observer would have watched that match and been highly entertained.
Oh yeah.
Both teams put together good runs at different points. It was kind of just entertaining in general, as entertaining as a match against United can be.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there going, I hate them. I wish none of them were here. I never want to see them again. So that happens. In the meantime of that, obviously, the incredible moment against West Brom, and then just an absolute drubbing of, a weak Burnley squad who was playing. I want to say they borrowed one of our youth academy kids to be their keeper. But that happened, and all of a sudden we're looking at this just ridiculous turn of events. So let's talk about the single seminal most incredible individual moment to have happened in those matches. That, of course, being the stoppage time winner scored by a goalkeeper against West Brom. Not only that, but a man who's not had his best season performance-wise as a professional, especially since he got to Liverpool, but also has just had an absolute nightmare of a last several months from a personal standpoint with the loss of his father and the tragic loss of his father,
yeah.
Not just one of those situations where, you have to deal with an illness or a prolonged, something or other. No, a sudden and tragic thing. That's trauma. That's difficult to deal with. You could tell this was a cathartic thing. How huge was that goal? How huge was that moment, Alex? Are there even any words?
I saw someone put it in the best way possible. That like I don't remember exactly how they worded it, but like something amazing just happened at the end of that West Brom game. Liverpool scored off a corner. Like I think that's the most ridiculous thing about it all is that like that makes it that much more unlikely that it was a corner kick and we scored off of it. I don't like truly believe it happened. Like I've watched the
No.
videos hundreds of times at this point, and it's just like what like
Yeah.
how in this year of all years, and that might be why it happened, of like
Maybe.
all the stuff that has happened to our team, our club, the players on the field, off the field, for that to happen and for it to be just such a good header.
It
I
was
think that's the
picture
thing.
perfect.
That was the best header I've ever seen in my life. Like I think that was better than the Van Persie versus Spain World Cup flying header because it was
I
just
think you might be right. Yeah.
like the power, the direction, like it was completely unsavable. And I just, I mean, first of all, I was on a road trip with some friends, and I was having to watch on the NBC app, and it crashed
Oh no.
at the corner kick.
Oh no.
So I had to wait, and luckily I had notifications turned off because I looked later and y'all were freaking the heck out, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I booted it up again and saw it happen, and I was just like dumbfounded, and then like just couldn't take my eyes off the screen because how could you? And then like it went into his interview and it went into everyone talking about it, and I was just like, like you said, all the stuff that had happened to him, like it was hard not to. I definitely got a lump in my throat and like a little misty eyed because it's like that is just like that's what this sport can do, and that's why so many people love it. And it's just one of those moments that's just like no one could have made that up because it is just too absurd to be a reality.
Yeah, that's one of the things that is why we watch sports. Like we watch sports because of the magic that it can bring about, you know. We don't always we quite honestly we very rarely get to see the good narratives in sports, you know. It's why we love underdog stories and why I think like as humans we make a lot of movies about underdogs that succeed cuz it just doesn't really happen. Like the team that spends $400 billion on their roster and coaching staff will most likely win the league. That shocking, right? It's just shocking. You rarely get a Leicester from several years back type of story. That's why that was such a magic thing. Like to just catch like, you know, lightning in a bottle, perfect situation and do that. You know, we watch for those moments. We watch so many people that don't even care about basketball watch March Madness for the moments of when like some no-name team is going to rise up and, you know, hit a buzzer beater shot to win a game. It's, you know, some kid named Bryce Drew from Valparaiso is going to catch a like full court pass at the buzzer to hit a buzzer beater to beat the best Ole Miss team ever assembled. And I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life. You know, we watch for those things, and this is just one of those moments. Like, this is a moment that transcends sports. This is a moment that transcends, I mean, so much significance on the pitch because of the significance off the pitch. This is something that everyone can get behind. A likable person who's gone through some terrible stuff being a hero for the most unlikely of reasons. It's just beautiful. Like, you can't say enough about it. You really can't. We should devote this entire episode to it. Like, if we were smart, we would. Or if we didn't have a billion things to talk about, we would. But that was just amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah, and it's one of those moments, and it's kind of been like a uniform thing among the fan base that we've seen. And like, there's been so many reaction videos shared of like a lot of the bigger podcasts, a lot of the bigger like Liverpool associated groups. And it was just that moment that like the joy came back from the season. Like it was fun again, and it was built up a little bit I know I'm guessing you might have felt the same way, but like seeing Mo just be so happy after scoring that fourth goal against United, and then to have that happen the very next game, the Allison goal, it was just like, this is fun again. We are, you can see it wasn't just us like as fans, it was the players. They're enjoying it more, and it's like everything is coming out, and it was just great to see. And now it's like we get to watch a game that we haven't seen before. Having watched the same game 38 times throughout the season, we finally get to see some just insane things that we hadn't seen.
Just something different. Something different. No, that's a phenomenal point. And you mentioned earlier how it's like, oh, of course, something like that crazy and unexpected and wild would happen this year of all years. And it kind of makes me feel like, I mean, just you kind of look at like the global climate of how everyone is kind of starting to see a little bit of like a light at the end of the tunnel for the most part, with the pandemic. Like it's not done, but we're actually seeing progress now. Like, we're seeing all of this. It kind of makes you realize also like this is the team right now. Yeah, it's fun again. And the team is starting to play well again. And it's almost like this, as things start to almost clear up a little bit more worldwide, things are clearing up more for Liverpool. Like they're going hand in hand and getting back to, you would think a little bit more of what is good about this specific team, not like Liverpool in general, but this specific Liverpool squad, like what's good about them, what's fun about them, like some of that's starting to return as well. The identity is returning just a little bit as well, which is really cool. So it's almost like those things kind of go hand in hand. Like the world heals a little bit more, we're starting to heal a little bit more as well. And we're starting to see performances out of like, Bobby Firmino actually scoring goals and creating more chances and like playing like the Bobby that we have loved for seasons now. You're seeing a little bit more productivity out of Sadio Mane, who by his own admission is having the worst professional season that he's had. That sort of thing is going on. You're seeing my dog who's in the room. So if you're watching this on YouTube, my dog is straight passed out on the couch. Like he was like, I'm not having any of this movie watching in the other room. I'm going to bed in this podcast room. But you're starting to see just more of the health, I guess, and identity of this squad come back, which is really cool to see as well, as we kind of come towards the tail end of things. So with that, I mean, we talked about a strong showing against United and strong showing against a weak Burnley team, but still a very strong showing against them. Multiple goals, several matches in a row. This is looking a little bit more like the Liverpool team of last season, just a little more injured still. What do you think is going right for the squad right now, Alex, to suddenly be able to be in this position that is not like fully redeeming this year, but definitely making something out of absolutely nothing as far as this season has gone? What seems to be going right?
I think it's a combination of things. It's seeing that we have kind of been able to grind out those results recently. I mean, the Allison goal totally undid the like just frustrating, nerve-wracking performance for the entirety of that match beforehand. But the match against United was progress from the Southampton match, which was progress from the Villa match, and so it was just it's all been building. It's all been getting more belief, and we've just been seeing the team get that, I guess, a little bit of that mentality monster factor back, and like, we're gonna score, it's gonna happen.
And progress is something that we've talked a lot about. Like, we have not at any point this season been able to build any sort of momentum. We actually kind of are right now.
Yeah, I mean, over the past 7 games, we're the form team in the league, which is really weird to say. It hasn't been that way all year. I mean, we've been so used to it, but it does feel weird again, like to look back and see how many successful results we've had in a row. And I mean, that's been buoyed by other matches falling perfectly in line with where we needed them to be, like the Chester Leicester Chelsea league match right after the FA Cup, and
I think that was the hashtag abbreviation. Actually, you know how they always do like the two teams like abbreviated together as a hashtag. I think it was Chester.
But yeah, the Chester match was riveting. But the result went our way. Any result where someone lost points is going to go away. But like of all the times for that match to happen, it happened right now when we're in the midst of what we're doing. That was extremely fortunate. And on top of that, there's, like you mentioned, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think the team and the club, and like you've heard Klopp mention it, you've heard a lot of the coaching staff mention it, and the players. They know the fans are going to be there for the Palace game, and they want that so badly. Like this team is so emotionally connected to having fans in the stadium that is something that they've clearly been looking forward to, and they're playing for and ready to put on a show. And then just one more thing from like a performance standpoint, we've had a little bit of consistency. It's not exactly ideal, but I mean we've had consistency with Phillips and Williams playing together, and they've seemingly got a better understanding of how each other play, how they should be playing, how they play with the fullbacks. Immensely helped by having Fabinho in midfield. I mean, the difference is night and day. And when you put Fabinho in midfield, you get to unlock Thiago a little bit more. We've seen him be the player that everyone knew that he was, and be world class. And there was a really good article today by Joel Rabinowitz, I think is how you say it. He writes for Liverpool sites and stuff, and he wrote about how Thiago and Trent have struck up a relationship. And that's something we've touched on a lot since Henderson's been out, is that what do we do with that right side, that right channel when Henderson's not there? But Thiago has definitely stepped in and filled that, and has just been absolutely bossing games. So the intangible stuff that we've talked about so much is now being joint hand in hand with the stuff that we've been trying to figure out, and how to get balance in this team with such a ragtag bunch of guys left around.
The stuff that we had hoped to see at the beginning of this year, like a continuation of a championship season. And I know we didn't end last season strongly, but it still was one of the more dominant seasons in Premier League history. So like there should have been something to continue off of that. Adding a ready-built player in Thiago, all that sort of stuff that was supposed to have happened early on, and just because of everything that did happen to us got derailed. We're starting to see what we hoped to have seen at the start of the season right now, which was really cool. So it's like it is the light at the end of the tunnel. It's also the like, good. This is why we made the moves that we made. You know, this is why we have kept Nat Phillips around. And this is why we went after Thiago. You know, this is why we've been, so determined to keep Ox around and keep Ox healthy.
What a goal.
Yeah, I know, what a goal. Oh, man. But this is why we do the things we do and why we have the squad we have is because of this right here. This is how the product was supposed to look like. It just was supposed to be a Virgil van Dijk, and supposed to be a Joe Gomez, and supposed to be a Joel Matip, that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's really relieving to have that. Really relieving to have that around as well. And I do just want to say, by the way, like when the crowd is fully there, it's going to be great. The crowd, well, I got two things I want to say. The crowd in the Burnley match, it was honestly harder to watch that match with like a couple thousand real fans than it was to watch it with canned audio repeating the same chant over and over again for 90 minutes. I was tuning into it just going, this sucks here. So I'm hoping that our little contingent of fans can do a little bit better. I'm sure they will. They'll have more to cheer for, but at the same time, oh man, maybe at the very least, I hope the broadcast team can mix the audio just a little differently, like just adjust it a bit more. But that being said, when the fans come back in full force, like they are absolutely going to love having a cult hero like Nat Phillips.
Oh yeah,
around. Like he has established himself not just as like a serviceable backup, like he's actually done well in several matches. Man of the match in a couple of matches. Like he's a genuinely good center back. And to be a good center back that has come out of nowhere and plays this hard-nosed, kind of awkward, a lot of times just based entirely off of hard work and not based off of like good instincts type of like success that he's having. That just is absolutely screams like Liverpool folk hero, Like it just does. We're a glamorous club. We're a club with all kinds of history. But like our big names throughout the history have always kind of been these just like workhorse, curmudgeons. like Liverpool as a city is it's all about like the docks, the shipyards. It's a shipping city. It's a dock city. It's a water-based city. It's all working class, like hard-nosed. It's just so it's beautiful to see a guy like Nat Phillips have success at Liverpool. Because if Nat Phillips was doing this sort of performance like for Arsenal, I don't think they care. Like he's not a London player. He's just not.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, he's not a London player. He absolutely is a Liverpool, the city player, and I just absolutely love that for him. So he's just been so much fun. He's been so much fun to watch.
And I mean, we haven't even said it yet. He scored. Like
he scored.
I don't know what was.
He scored a pretty decent header himself.
I don't know what was more unlikely: Alisson scoring a header or Nat Phillips scoring a header. But then they both scored in back-to-back games. Like,
yep.
It just what the heck is going on?
Not only that, but Nat had a great chance at actually scoring with his feet just a little bit earlier in that Burnley match, and just couldn't got too far under it. I love it. So
and he got the assist on the Jota backheel.
Did he really?
That was his shot, I'm pretty sure, against United.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's so funny. But yeah, like I just love it. I'm gonna be one of those guys that done so well in getting guys who are like world-class Salahs and Virgil van Dijks and the guys that like sing those songs. Man, I can't wait to hear what goofy song the fans will sing for Nat Phillips. Obviously I hope we're not having to rely on him as much when the fans are back in full force, but at the same time, I don't feel nearly as bad. Like, give me a Virgil and Nat Phillips pairing. Absolutely. It's just going to be chaos, and I'm here for it.
No one will ever get the ball over a defense. Like, that would just be, I don't know, like Wall Maria in Attack on Titan. I know that got breached like in the first episode, but spoiler alert.
I'm sorry Zach's not here to discuss that with you. I know he's the other Attack on Titan guy, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. I need to watch it. I know I need to watch it. No one has to at me telling me that I need to watch it. I already know. You're not telling me anything I'm not aware of.
Hit us up at YNTA Podcast. Let Joseph know how badly he needs to watch Attack on Titan.
Oh, please don't. Please don't. All right, so speaking of fans eventually coming back in full force, all of that sort of stuff. I'm coming back as the king of Segway, man. Speaking of fans, some of the biggest news that happened in the past week since the past episode has nothing to do with matters on the pitch. It has everything to do with what has happened outside of that. That being, of course, that the massive negative outpouring of fan reaction to the Super League has meant that Liverpool owners, Fenway Sports Group, have decided that they do need to have a fan board that provides fan representation that helps guide their decision making. Now, there's no way of knowing how seriously they will take the input of the fan board. Obviously, they could completely ignore it, and if they do, that will be the death of them as owners. They will be completely out if that's the case. And obviously, there's a lot more that needs to be done to right what mistakes they made. But this is at least one actually tangible step towards trying to make some sort of amends. So Alex, your take on this, one right thing to try to make up for several wrongs, but your take on this one move right here.
Before I answer, I will say you said full force twice, and it makes me think of the hashtag full force banner that was on display at Craven Cottage at every Fulham home game this season. So thank you. That was one of the only like good hashtags that any team put up in the stands
That is
in
good.
this weird season. So
Yeah.
hashtag full force it is.
And of course, it would be at my ancestral home ground,
Yeah.
Craven Cottage.
Yeah, that's why you brought it up. I know exactly why you brought it up. It was that reason.
Yeah. No, I definitely knew that hashtag was a thing. I definitely was aware of that.
I know you're on Fulham Twitter a lot, so
Yeah. There is absolutely no reason to have paid attention to Fulham this season. Not at all. I'm sorry, guys.
but yeah, it's good to see that they actually paid attention and learned. This is an evidence of them actually learning and like realizing, oh shoot, everyone's really pissed at us. We should try to make that less bad.
We done messed up, boys.
I think as part of that as well, FSG said they were going to pay for all of the fines and any fees related to the Super League debacle, which it's weird that we're saying that like, oh, what a great thing for them to do because it's their own fault and they did it on purpose. But at least they're not taking money out of the club. So like it could have been worse.
Yeah, and they're doing that part completely unprompted. Like they didn't try to do something else and then go, hey, you know what, actually we're going to do it. They went ahead and just said, hey, don't worry, like, y'all don't worry about it. We messed up on that one. We'll take care of it. So that is good. There is some good reactions there.
It's definitely a step in the right direction to get fan representation, and hopefully it's not just the Super League clubs that do it. I mean, all Premier League clubs, hopefully, and as many clubs as possible throughout the pyramid. Be great to handle because, I mean, there's still so many issues to resolve, and this is just the first step. I mean, there's been so many issues with ticket prices, home and away. It's just like making it a sport for everyone again, and I think this is exactly what needs to be done. And there's good basis of this off of German fan ownership models that have been oft cited, and there's just a lot of terrible owners. I mean, it's been a week since the guy who is trying to buy Derby County posted a picture of a TikTok as his home, and someone identified it from the TikTok and was like, "This is not your house." So I mean, a lot. I think it was the Football Ramble that touched on it, that like the ownership of a club naturally draws a bunch of terrible people because of what it takes to be an owner at this point for clubs of this size. And hopefully something like this will be a step towards making it full of less bad people.
Right.
And I'm not going to say,
it.
And FSG are not bad people. They're certainly not the worst of the worst in terms of owners. And they don't have a lot of skeletons in their closet that others do. They're just strict businessmen, and that comes at the price of being idiots sometimes, and that's exactly what they've been. And they still have a lot of bridges to repair, but at least they did this.
Yeah. It shows, like, I think, I kind of said in the reaction to it, like when you make an apology for anything you do like that, you have to then take steps to make things right. And with them, they've needed for a little while to show that they have more of an understanding of the sport, and more of an understanding of like the culture surrounding the team, not just the culture of like building a winning team, but the culture that actually is involved in such a historic team, in a historic league. I mean, going beyond the Premier League, in all of English football, they've needed to educate themselves on that. And so this is at least a step to show, okay, like maybe they're serious about, or maybe they're seriously aware finally of how little they actually understand. Because I mean, I can't ever fault them for being businessmen. Like, they've made money doing business stuff for years. It's just kind of who they are. So like when they try to make the club and make themselves richer, like I understand, but like you can't be tone deaf in the process. And that was
Yeah.
the Super League was such a tone deaf thing from so many. So it's good to see, they weren't the first to drop out. But I think, are they the first to make these sort of steps in getting more fan representation, or who else
I
have
think
you?
Chelsea was the first. And that's good for them.
Yeah.
Don't like them as a club. They still got their own issues to work out.
Yeah.
They're not
Well, they ain't
blameless,
got no
obviously,
history,
but yeah.
first of all, foremost.
I don't even remember who they are. But at least some people are doing it, and I'm all in favor of that happening because things are continuing to get out of control, and this summer could, I don't know, be more evidence of that, and it will be interesting to see if like forgiveness can be bought for not just for our club but for a lot of other clubs. And yeah, it's going to be a fun time, but I'm excited to see how the fan representation group is enacted and how quickly it gets going.
Yeah. Like, this is where I'm real curious, and I'm really, hoping that it is not just a show, and they do take the fan suggestions, they take the whole situation seriously enough to be able to say, yeah, okay, like, what can we actually learn? And it's not just trying to appease fans, but it is trying to learn from fans. And that's why this is one of those things that it's like, okay, this is good. This is a good step, undeniably. But it is not, it is far from the finish line.
Yeah.
Like, this is the starting point on what you have to do as owners. It is line. There's a lot of work done that hopefully this to that they're serious. I'm looking Tottenham was the club that announced fan representation on their board. I don't think it was Chelsea first. I think it was Tottenham, according to this article I'm looking at.
Okay, got it. I think Chelsea is maybe they're trying. I definitely saw something related to them.
Well, because they were the first. Yeah, they were the first ones to listen to their fans and back out of the Super League to begin with. Now, Grant's made maybe the biggest play out of the fan bases at the time, but and then it's interesting because I'm also looking in the article on award-winning soccer website ESPN FC.
Pulitzer Prize winning.
Pulitzer Prize winning. Also says Manchester United's owners, the Glazer family, announced recently they would have a fans forum to hear supporters' views on the direction the club is taking. Trying to tie that in like it has something to do with having fan representation, when that's just them opening up a forum for fans to come in and go, "You suck and we hate you," like over and over and over. So not the same thing, guys.
Yeah, and they're also not going to listen.
No, absolutely not. You talk about an ownership group that has shown no interest in learning or listening. That's absolutely them. So, hey, we'll always be doing better than United in that regard.
Yeah.
Always something to take pride in.
Suck it.
Suck it. So, a good move, far from the end of what the owners should be doing, but a good move to start with. Now, an interesting move that we need to talk about here is the release of next year's home kit. All right. I believe they tried to say something about it being an homage, if you will. On Instagram, they tried to say it was an homage to like the 70s when the club went with just a full red top for like the first time, and it always had some sort of white involved on it. And it was the first time they went full red on it. And I was like, then why in the world is there orange on this thing?
Yeah.
And why is there a weird stripe? Diagonal. Why are there a bunch of backslashes all over this kit? Like, what HTTP / like URL or are we typing in here, guys? Like, what is up with this? It's not bad. Like, if we went on our rating scale of lit kit, meh kit, or bleep kit, it would probably not be in the lowest section. It would not be a profane kit.
Yeah.
But it's in my opinion, it's pretty close. There's just not anything good about it. There's nothing inherently god awful about it, but there's not really anything good about it in like my assessment. What's your take on this kit, Alex?
They obviously snuck this in there before the fan voice was part of the board because I don't think any of the fans would have signed up for this. Like you said, it's pretty meh. It's pretty plain. I mean, the patterns I don't mind. I'm used to weird patterns. Like the last Adidas kits we had were hilarious with like the texturing and the patterns they had. So I'm kind of used to that. And with Nike, what they do, I mean, I'm okay with that. Our kit this year kind of has a weird pattern on it, but not as extreme as this. What I hate the most is the like hot salmon accents that I guess are taken from our training kits from this season, but they just look so stupid.
Why?
Like the kits they're referencing have white trim, and those look awesome. Those look like they do look old. They look like exactly of their time. And that would have been awesome to have. It would have really felt like an homage, but this hot salmon is just gross. Like, why? Who is that for? Wait, it doesn't look good. Those colors clash. They don't. They're not complementary. I mean, the only nice part about it is kind of the like back of the neck thing, which isn't as weird as this year's back of the neck, which was just the huge downside of the red kit. But I don't know. It's just, I mean, I'm hoping that the away kit that we saw is real because that will save this. And then I'm curious to see what the third kit is, but not a fan really of this new home kit. And it's mostly because of three things: the sleeves and the collar.
Oh, both sleeves. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with you on it. It's like this year's kit, the current one that has the slight, like, blue collar, blue trim, all that, it had to grow on me a little bit, but I think what really worked out for it was that it did the collar thing, which was a little bit different, but then it kept it like pretty simple across the rest of it. There's something about this particular kit that almost has like a training kit feel to it.
Yeah.
I don't know why it is, and I don't know if it's just because like we've all promotional shots and we haven't really seen the kit like fitted for the player to wear pitch, so we haven't really seen it like game ready kit or something like that. But there's just something about it that just it doesn't look like a real kit. It looks so I don't know. Maybe it as like the body of the kit will look better to me once I actually see it like game ready, but I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get past the weird salmony, orangey, whatever color, and that the combination of that with like the backslashes, I think is one of the major things that makes it look so much like a practice kit to me. So
yeah,
not enjoying it,
or like a Football Manager, FIFA, PES kind of auto-generated non-actual team jersey.
Right. We didn't get the licensing rights, so this is what we've got.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing that it does have going for it that last year's kits did not, and I'm specifically thinking about the away kit, which I did not like at first, and I realized it was only because of the promotional photo shoots they did for it that made it look like streetwear. They were the worst photos I've ever seen. Everyone in the photo shoot looked doofy as hell. Like, I feel so bad for all of them for having that on their resume.
Landon Donovan at the water fountain style.
Yes. It's just dumb. And so please don't do that. They didn't do it for this one. Hopefully they don't do it for the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty good little like hype video, but it's always interesting when you make a hype video for a kit reveal and then like you don't reveal the kit for a little while. Like, here's a bunch of quick flashes of Virgil van Dijk in the kit, so you can kind of see it. But like, we're not going to show you the actual kit and what it looks like quite yet because you're not ready, and we're not sure how you're going to react to it.
Let us disable comments first.
Right, exactly. So that makes it a little bit interesting, but you're right. Now, I never liked the away kit all that much simply because, I'm not a Tottenham fan. I'm sorry. The away kit was the underwater kit. The third kit was the Tottenham kit. Yeah, I came to like it a little. I liked it as a kid. The problem is, like, it just feels so bizarre and strange trying to do a blue kit for Liverpool, just in general. Like, that's always going to be a little bit odd, even if it is, a fine kit, like the away kit was. It just is always going to be a little bit strange to me to be like, yeah, there's Liverpool wearing the blue, like stick with Toxic Thunder, and you'll be good.
Bring it back.
Never can go wrong. That's the throwback they need to have. If they don't have a Toxic Thunder throwback, I'm gonna be so mad. So that's our reaction. Hey, what are your thoughts? Tweet at us at YNTA Podcast to let us know what you think about the kit so far and whether we're being a little too harsh on them. There's always the chance they grow on us. There's always the chance. But it's been a little while, been a couple of seasons since we had like a kit reveal where we all instantly went, ah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's sad. I just would like to have that again where it's like, oh, yeah, this is it. I feel like we were kind of close with the home kits from last season. Like when they first revealed, like it was like, oh, this is almost there, but there's something about the Nike kits that just kind of look a bit like streetwear training kits when they're revealed. And I guess it's just the material or something. Like it's weird. It's weird though.
Yeah, and the patterns. I will say I do like the Nike templates they've done with the collar, and some of the stuff we've seen has a collar on it. So I'm excited to see that. Like I really like the Atletico Madrid kit this year because of the way it just like its silhouette. So hoping we get something kind of like that. Oh, and the Roma kit, the third kit or away kit with the collar, that looks good. So come on, give us a collar.
Yes, please. That's all we want is a collar. All
and stripes that go all the way up. Sorry, I had to say that.
You had to throw it in there. Just had to. All right, so a couple of quick notes to end on here as we kind of wrap things up on this episode. That we were able to, get through a lot of topics, at least in some regard, in a smaller amount of time than we tend to take on our podcast episodes that are about absolutely nothing. But we we all know and respect obviously the immense talent and everything that, I mean, you can't even just say talent, leadership. It's hard to sum up what Steven Gerrard means to Liverpool as a club. You talk about like the legends of the club through the years, like we kind of were alluding to earlier. He is Liverpool. He just kind of is. And so to have him announced as one of the players that are going to be put into the Premier League Hall of Fame, is just a great honor because, there's been some really good Premier League midfielders, since the league was founded. Some really good ones. It's always great to see someone like him recognized, especially considering it. I think that titles are a terrible way to judge an individual player across all sports. I think it's stupid to think that a player sucks because his team never won a title. And so I'm really glad that didn't really happen here, and that he's being honored for how good he was as a player, without anyone being like, well, he never won the Premier League. Like, I'm sorry, he only won in Europe like constantly. Oh, he won everything else. So, just a cool honor to see him, being put in this. Now, I don't really know if people are gonna care all that much about the Premier League Hall of Fame, but it's cool that his resume and his career speaks for itself on at least having this sort of honor. Just kind of, right off the bat. So, really neat.
Yeah. Congrats to him, especially after the season he's had as a manager. Just a great way to round off the season.
You still think, I know a lot of people I say you still think as if you've ever stated this, but I know a lot of people are like, whenever Jurgen Klopp does step away, like, it's got to be Stevie G as manager. Now that he's actually, like, won it with Rangers up there, I'm like, Well, shoot, now it's not just like, oh, bring back the local hero. It's like, now he's actually getting some good, doing some good things as a manager. This actually seems like it could potentially work, down the line. So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, a huge honor for him in general. Now, Alex, this is completely not Liverpool related at all. But I feel like we can't let a recording opportunity go by without just basking in the glory of River Plate.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You talk about the weird things that we've seen in the past couple of weeks with Liverpool. How about the weirdest thing, probably the coolest thing I've heard in this entire season across every league around the world? A team that is missing almost everyone and is having to start a center back. No, I'm sorry. A midfielder, right?
Yeah, center mid.
Center mid in goal ends up winning in the Copa Libertadores. I can't even speak. I'm so worked up and excited about it. Libertadores. Unbelievable. Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, not at all. Not that could never happen. No, like there would be no unless it's like a super tragic reason, and that would be they wouldn't play the game otherwise.
Right.
But like, there's no way that many people are missing, and that a center mid who has played in Champions Leagues, in La Liga title races, in the World Cup in midfield is having to play in goal for one of the biggest sides in South America in the equivalent of the Champions League. Like, I can't. It's probably still more likely than Alisson's goal, but it's like just right up there in terms of things that are unlikely.
It makes no sense. Were you the one that sent the article to the group text about it?
Yeah.
Like, I was dying laughing reading about it. Not because like there's anything actually funny about the entire situation, but just because like how? Like, out of everything that we've seen with Alisson's goal, with Nat Phillips's goal, with having this year that we've had where we've talked so much about how much this sucks. It's everyone's hurt all the time, everything's just miserable, it's difficult to watch this team, and they'll look up and be like, oh, wait a second, we can still end up top 4. Even after all of that, to then read this story about this situation, I mean, they literally only had 11 players available.
Yeah, I think that they had the legal minimum to be able to play.
Just unbelievable. They had no substitute.
No bench.
Yeah. They had 11 players available. So they had to put in 11 people, none of which were a keeper, and ended up pulling off a victory. Just unreal. I just love it. That, again, that's another one of those magic moments that you just love to see about sports. Like, people are going to be talking about that particular match for years in all of South America, I feel like. It's just, I love it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and like, especially their fan base. Like, for a club with so much history, and like, just to be just that huge of a club in an entire continent and across the world, really. Like, everyone's heard of River Plate. They apparently play in the Premier League from Southampton. That's who we played based on their kits. But I mean, just that, to have like, that is a standout moment in a club with a history of that magnitude. So like, that's just incredible to see.
Yep. It really is. Really is unbelievable. All right. I love to see it. But we can't talk about other clubs for very long. We do actually have a focus here on the podcast. And that focus is, of course, the fact we have one more match to play. Liverpool has one more match. And naturally, it has to be against stupid Crystal Palace.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. So coming up on the 23rd, 10 a.m., the finale against Palace. Let me ask you this first and foremost, Alex, before we talk about this specific match. At this point in time, top 4 odds, like what would you think we're looking at here in terms of our ability to actually land and finish in that top 4?
It's got to be like 80%. I think I've seen those like uh, index calculators of like which teams are most likely to finish in what position. And at this point, and it was even before the Leicester, or it was before we played Burnley, but right after the Leicester Chelsea match, it
Okay.
was like 77%. And we won, so it's probably gone up. So maybe it's a little over 80 because all we have to do is match Leicester's result.
Yeah.
And I think we can do that given who we're playing and their injuries. But that said, having good players out means that some rando academy kid is going to step in and be Messi and Pele and Maradona rolled into one. So I don't know, but all things are going our way, which is a weird thing to say about this season.
I was shocked that Burnley's 15th
Yeah.
choice keeper didn't have like the absolute game of his career, just all of a sudden turned into the best keeper in the world. But maybe that streak of terrible keeper luck that we've had is starting to run out. Maybe. I guess we'll have
Please.
to find out. Please. That's the one thing I would love. That's the one demon I would love to see get exorcised from the club as soon as possible. Is that stupid happenstance, We love it. So, all right. Palace themselves, obviously, we're talking about a team that probably underachieved this season from what they probably could or should be doing. And you got to think there's a little bit of unrest maybe with all of that. But a bit of an underachieving, not quite able to really break into that top half of the Premier League, not really able to compete as well as they wanted to with a lot of the clubs, ending up with 17 losses to only 12 wins on the year. And anytime you've got that, obvious negative mark against you, it just really stands out. So a frustrated season for them in general. But they're always a team that seems to give us massive headaches, especially going into the final match of the season. It's just one of those things that happens. So, what are we looking at with Crystal Palace coming up here at this very end, this wrap-up moment here for us? What are we looking at with them?
They have absolutely nothing to play for, but that usually means that they're going to do something stupid. They always do. They also are like out there playing for Eberici Eze, who is like a popular figure in the team and has a bad injury. They showed solidarity with him. It's Roy Hodgson's last match, so of course they're going to be fighting for Roy the boy,
Right.
then trying to like get him revenge against us for they probably were like, oh, they kicked him out when he didn't deserve it, but he absolutely did. And just they also lost to us 7-0 the last time we played them, so they're probably going to want to try to do something about that in some way. So I don't expect this to be an easy match. It's going to be tense. I'm going to hate pretty much every minute of it until we get like a 3-goal lead if we can.
I already hate it.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah. I question always whenever you get to this point in the season and things are kind of a little bit set or just about set, even though we have a decent amount riding on being able to, land that top 4 spot. I always wonder a little bit about motivations from different clubs. Like you just pointed out, like Palace has a few things going on. Palace has some like, let's just try to end on one high note, storylines going on here. And you got to wonder how much that might affect our motivations. Like, we are obviously motivated to try to end in the top 4. We're also super motivated to keep momentum going. We're just now getting momentum for the first time all year. We want to keep it going. So which of those two teams are going to be able to actually, at the end of the season, at the end of a long, exhausting season, have the motivation to go head-to-head and emerge victorious? And it really kind of feels like, at this point, Liverpool is inevitable. Like, we're going to get top 4, and we're probably going to, like, beat you in a completely illogical way that should not make any sense, because that's what we've been doing lately. But you don't want to take anything for granted. So I mean, what do you think are our odds of being able to? I don't know why I said that so weird. Are our odds of being able to?
It's part of the Libertadores.
The Copa Libertadores. I'm very eloquent tonight. You should not have allowed me on this podcast. But what do you think are the chances here for us to emerge with a victory?
This is gonna sound like it doesn't make any sense, but I feel like you'll know exactly what I mean. This is the best time of the season to be ending the season for us right now. Like, this is exactly where we want to be in terms of performance, to be playing our last game to qualify for the Champions League. Like, it couldn't have, weirdly could not have come at a better time. So I'm optimistic, but also cautious, because I've seen this season. I know how it works. Yeah, cautious-mistic. And we're just ready to be like white knuckling my own hands,
right?
Just in terror and stress, and then I'm going to be ready to throw stuff when we score and when we win, because I'm expecting a win, but I'm also just expecting to be sweating a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm expecting to look back on this and be like, how in the world did we pull this off? Like, how in the world, out of everything that has happened, were we able to actually get a top 4 finish? It just doesn't make much sense. So
yeah,
I'm excited about it. I think Will had said in a group text that landing a top 4 finish after the way this season is done might honestly be more impressive than winning the league last season. And it's a good observation, because, like, quite honestly, we just were a dominant team last year. And so it was like, oh yeah, the title's going to be ours. There's no question. We're just that good. To rise above everything that's gone wrong this year and emerge with some semblance of like, oh, this is actual like success. It's amazing. So it would be amazing to see if that can happen. And there will actually be like some justified celebrations if the team is able to finish out strong like we think that they should.
Yeah.
But we'll find out. We'll find out. And then, of course, once we find out what happens there, we'll go on to do our, end of the season recap episodes, move into the Keep or Sell podcast special event that we always love so much. Special crossover event between us and the other members of this podcast that don't ever show up for recording sessions anymore. So it'll be a good time. But you're absolutely right. It's the right time for us to be ending the season as well, because I think we're all just tired, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you, but I'm exhausted.
Yes.
Just exhausted. So it has been quite a journey this season, to say the least. And we do appreciate all of you that have tuned in and listened, have chimed in with comments or replies or tweets or whatever throughout the season as well. It hadn't been easy for anyone to deal with, that's for sure, on a global scale. Nothing has been easy for the past, let's go back 14 months to when last season was suspended, right? Like, nothing's been easy for anyone, but we've reached this particular point. And in the past 14 months, we've been able to win the league for the first time in 30 years. We've been able to overcome what should have been the worst season we had in a decade, to possibly end in the top 4, maybe. Like, we're still hoping, but like, just to be able to even be in this position is unbelievable. So it's crazy to see what we come through and where we are hopefully going as we move out of this season and into the next one. Hopefully momentum carries us through. So that is going to wrap things up for this episode of You'll Never Talk Alone. Alex, thank you, sir. Any closing thoughts?
No.
Good. This is YNTA. This is where we would normally throw it over for that bad gag. We're just going to skip it tonight. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on You'll Never Talk Alone.